In the motion in limine filed on April 29, 2024, Prosecutor Nicholas McClelland requested that the court enter an order to prevent Richard Allen or his defense team from making any comment in the presence of a jury about the state that constitutes a personal attack, any comment which constitutes the personal opinion by the defense about any evidence, witness, outcome, or penalty, and any innuendo or inference that is not supported by admissible evidence. Any attempt to indoctrinate the jury during voir dire by exposing the jury to substantive issue in the case. Any attempt during voir dire to have the jury prejudge the credibility of a witness. Any hypothetical questions that includes facts that are not in evidence or questions that are not helpful in violation of Rule 705. Any attempt to introduce evidence of third-party motive that is not relevant and/or the probative value is outweighed by unfair prejudice, confusion of the issues, or has the potential to mislead the jury in violation of Rule 401. The voir dire process is the process which starts with jury selection when potential jurors enter the courtroom. In America, voir dire is used to remove any jurors who may have been influenced by pretrial publicity, like from media coverage sources on social media and television. In the motion of limine, it stated that the state requests such order in limine to include but not be limited to Odinism, cult, or ritualistic killing, Brad Holder, Patrick Westphal, Johnny Messer, Elvis Fields, Ned Smith, Rod Abrams, Keegan Kline, Jerry Klein, better known as Tony Klein, and Ron Logan. The prosecution does not want these names brought up because the prosecutor and investigators do not think any of those names have any connection or involvement to the Delphi case, Richard Allen and Richard Allen's trial. The prosecution does not want the defense to bring any of these names up as possible third-party culprits during the trial process. The motion of limine also brought up Todd Click and stated that any reference to an investigation conducted by Todd Click, along with any reports or investigative materials from Todd Click, that is not relevant or is used for the purpose of confusing the issues or has the potential to mislead the jury in violation of Rule 401. The state also wants any reference to geofencing in testimony from Kevin Horan about geofencing or the findings from the geofence search that is not relevant or is for the purpose of confusing the issues or has the potential to mislead the jury violation Rule 401. I think the geofencing is irrelevant, and it seems that the defense confused the differences between GPS, cell phone triangulation, and geofencing. The three phones the defense brought up were none of the Odinist names brought up in the 136-page memorandum, and the people who were using the phones had been cleared. It also stated from the state's motion in limine filing that any scrutiny such as references towards prior bad acts or acts of any witnesses to that plan to testify at trial that is not relevant to what the defendant is on trial for, that is not an act that is an exception to IRE 404B, and that is not both relevant under IRE 401 and tend to negate the guilt of the defendant. Any reference to how the files were labeled that were handed over to the defense as part of the information and discovery provided to defense counsel by the state that are not relevant or that would tend to cause confusion of the issues or has the potential to mislead the jury in violation of Rule 401. Any reference to any PowerPoints provided by the state as executive briefs involving any person or persons that were investigated by law enforcement as part of the 6-year investigation into the murder of Abigail Williams and Liberty German that are not relevant or would tend to cause confusion of the issues or has the potential to mislead the jury in violation of Rule 401. I think the defense should be allowed to be criminal defense lawyers to an extent to where they're allowed to bring some level of scrutiny to the courtroom, and scrutinizing witness accounts should be allowed. I think the motion in limine has some valid points, and the defense want to use information which is completely irrelevant to the trial because the Odinist evidence is interpretation, theory, and he said, she said, accounts of Odinist suspects isn't evidence. Just because Elvis Fields may have worked under the table delivering meat to Indiana Packers and knew some person in the American Guard is not evidence. there's no tangible evidence connecting any of the Odenus male suspects to the Monon High Bridge Trail on the 13th of February 2017. In the Rushville Republican newspaper, released on Saturday, June 9, 2001, reported that Todd Click was sworn in on May 25, 2001 as a new member of the Rushville Police Department and started as a patrolman. On Thursday, September 4, 2003, the Rushville Republican posted an article about Rushville Police Department officers being suspended. The writer claimed that officers Tracy Dice and Todd Click were both suspended for 3 days without pay. An internal investigation was completed on August 1, 2003 by the Rushville Police Department into Dice and Click's conduct during a high-speed pursuit of a fleeing motorist. The news report claimed that the results of the investigation revealed violations of department policies and procedures. On Friday, September 5, 2003, the Rushville Republican posted a correction in regards to the Thursday, September 4, 2003 article stating that the news report erroneously claimed Todd Click had been suspended when he actually received a written reprimand from the Rushville Police Department. After 2 promotions, in October 2008, Todd Click was promoted to detective. Following his promotion to the rank of patrol sergeant in January 2007, Click attended a first-line supervision and management training seminar and received specialized training in forensic computer investigations, cyber crimes, identity theft, and fraudulent documents and identification. On April 23, 2024, prosecutor Nick McClelland filed a motion for leave of court to subpoena third-party records. In the motion, it says the state believes that former Rushville Police Department Assistant Police Chief Todd Click has employee records that show a Brady Giglio violation that could call into question his credibility as a witness. The state claimed the violations could call into question the veracity of his testimony. The state filed a motion for leave to obtain these records based on this information. The state requested the employee records of Todd Click. I checked the Giglio Brady List website, which seems quite jank, and the site doesn't seem professionally made and uses a website builder template. I tried to look up Todd Click to no avail. I tried looking up a police officer I know who has a Brady Giglio violation from Virginia and found nothing on him either. So I don't know how up-to-date this website is. The prosecutor could acquire the information to find out if Todd Click does have a Brady Giglio violation. Some people have speculated that Todd Click may have been demoted because of the change in rank between specific times of his career and retirement. The speculation came from Todd Click changing ranks from Assistant Chief of Police from 2012 to 2019, and then becoming a patrol sergeant between 2020 and 2021. He is now a parole agent. He retired in December 2021. The same mayor of Rushville, Mike Pavey, from 2019 is still mayor in 2024, and the same police chief, Craig Tucker, who was police chief in 2019, is still police chief today in 2024. In May 2020, there was a new assistant police chief named Alex Shaver at Rushville Police Department. Alex Shaver was a Rushville police detective before his promotion. Todd Click became a sergeant sometime between December 2019 and May 2020. The question is, did Todd Click, as an active duty police officer, get demoted in rank because of misconduct, a violation in departmental policies, or a performance issue? Some people have speculated maybe a child molestation case involving a former Rushville Baptist Temple pastor named Gary Evans, who was found not guilty on 14 counts of child molestation, sexual battery, and child solicitation at his trial in September 2019, was the case where Todd Click may have committed misconduct in some way to be put on the Brady Giglio list.
Former Rushville pastor found not guilty of child molestation and other crimes.
Gary Evans and his attorney spoke only with News 8's Julia Dang. And Julia, it didn't seem like a tough call for the jury to make.
Yeah, Brooke, they deliberated for only about 40 minutes before acquitting Gary Evans on all 14 felony counts. His attorney called him a victim of confirmation bias. And he says, although he was convinced of Gary's innocence, he was petrified of taking this case to trial.
The verdict was in. God's will is being done.
Not guilty. The two words former pastor Gary Evans had waited 2 years to hear.
But it still hurts.
In October 2017, Evans was arrested and ultimately charged with 14 counts of child molestation, sexual battery, and child solicitation. Authorities launched their investigation after police say a 3-year-old girl claimed Evans had sexually assaulted her in his office at Rushville Baptist Temple.
We can preach all day about the presumption of innocence. We're starting a 100-yard race 50 yards behind when the jurors are brought in and they're told of those types of allegations.
Defense attorney Judd McMillan told the jury detectives may have interpreted evidence as confirmation of what they already believed to be true. After the accusations circulated online and after police urged parents to talk to their children about inappropriate contact, 5 more alleged victims came forward.
Nobody ever asked the kids what they told their moms. So there was never a opportunity for the kids to tell their story again.
Lead investigators could not be reached for comment. News 8 obtained transcripts of interviews conducted with the children, all under the age of 8, in addition to audio of the initial accuser being shown a photo lineup.
They bring her in, and despite putting the pastor as number 5 right in front of her, despite putting Gary right in front of her, she never picks him out. They ask her 19 direct times.
You don't see the pastor on that page?
The defense team told the court the first child described a different perpetrator. Attorneys argued the next 4, 2 pairs of sisters, told identical stories as if they had been coached. And they claim the final account had unreliable details about location.
I've been trapped for 2 years, not able to get out of my house. I was gone to prison for 7 months. That's the state penitentiary I came. Innocent, knowing that I did not do it. And it hurt real bad, and it's still hurting.
And moving forward, he and his attorneys have not ruled out the possibility of taking civil action. Prosecutors did not return calls from News 8 seeking comment.
In 2017, when Pastor Gary Evans was arrested on child molestation charges, Detective Alex Shaver was the one investigating his case. In 2017, Todd Click was assistant police chief and Craig Tucker was the police chief. In 2021, Pastor Gary Evans filed a lawsuit against the city of Rushville and the 3 police officers, which was later dismissed with prejudice in 2022. I can see how the ending of Pastor Gary Evans' trial in September 2019 could perhaps coincide maybe with a possible violation involving Todd Click, but I can't find any evidence to prove that to be the case. Maybe others have found it, but I'm not sure if that might be the reason for him changing ranks from assistant police chief to sergeant in 2020 because Alex Shaver, who was the detective, ended up becoming the assistant police chief by May 2020. People still wonder what the Wabash River search was about, which lasted for 5 weeks from mid-August 2022 and ending in mid-September 2022, a month or so before Richard Allen's arrest. A person acquired some information from the lead of the ISP dive team. Around the time the river search occurred and the dive team lead said they were there to find anything metal and lots of railroad spikes and rebar was found. The state police dive team has to perform and use their equipment to continue and acquire additional funding from the state. There was also a training purpose to the search. One of 3 images from the crime scene, not the images leaked by Mitch Westerman, showed Libby's tie-dye shirt and her shoe in the creek. A very knowledgeable Delphi sleuther found the items from the helicopter footage video where 2 dive team members are looking in the direction of the items in the creek. There has been some speculation over the years around a book Liberty German was reading before she was murdered called A Promise Not to Tell. Libby's grandmother, Becky Patty, told James Renner that she was unsure where she got the book from and maybe she had to read it for schoolwork. In the book, a girl around the same age as Libby named Tori is found murdered in the woods naked, but wasn't as aid. Her murder was a copycat murder of a girl from 30 years ago named Dell, who was killed in a cabin in the woods. Tori was murdered because she wore a borrowed jacket with a sheriff's pin on it that the killer wanted to take back. It's a bit weird if Libby was reading this book before she was murdered, but it could be simply a coincidence. And there is also differences in the book. which isn't quite the same as the murders of Libby and Abby like the cause of death. In the Ron Logan search warrant affidavit, created by FBI agent Nicole Robinson, she put in the search warrant that the last successful ping of the cellular phone, meaning Libby's phone, occurred at approximately 5:30 p.m. on February 13, 2017. In the fourth Franks motion filed by Richard Allen's defense on April 29, 2024, it claimed that based on newly disclosed evidence that Liberty German's phone was accessed and connected with the cell phone tower at 4:33 a.m. on February 14, 2017. The defense claimed in this motion that the last ping was not at 5:44 p.m. February 13th, but at 4:33 a.m. on February 14th. In the motion, it assumed that Libby's phone would not be in working order, and the phone would have likely have been dead before 4:33 a.m. on February 14, 2017. The defense claimed that if the prosecution's timeline is accurate, there would be no way that the phone was not in working condition between 9 p.m. on February 13th and 1 a.m. on February 14th, 2017, because they claim they know that the phone was on and communicated with the cell phone tower at 4:33 a.m. I believe Libby had an iPhone 6S and cell phone triangulation was used from the AT&T tower to ping her phone. I heard there's 2 cell towers in Delphi, and maybe another cell tower other than the AT&T tower got a ping from the phone. The phone may have still been on in a battery reserve or sleep mode at 4:33 a.m. and may have given out a ping before it was turning off. Some carriers will ping a phone every X amount of hours. It's also possible the defense may have put a spin on things, twisting information in order to strengthen the Franks motion. I have been told through a third party of some of the details of one of up to 30 or more of Richard Allen's confessions and incriminating statements, and it seems like it would fall in line with the timeline with the location and what he saw around 3:30 p.m. and when he left the crime scene. The person he gave the incriminating statement to did not have any knowledge of the Delphi case, and it seems like he knew something only the killer would know. I also have heard he's confessed at Wabash Valley too. Rick Allen may have also confessed in some way in the October 26, 2022 interview with Jerry Holman, which the state's objection to defendant's motion seems to allude to. Rick Allen, according to his latest mugshot information from Allen County Jail, lists him at 5'5", weighing 147 pounds. A key witness who saw Bridge Guy said he was around her height, which was short at 5'5" or 5'6". Richard Allen is at the Allen County Jail ahead of his pretrial hearing tomorrow on May 7, 2024.